Boy, August is one of my favorite times of the year to fish because fish are aggressive and they're actively feeding all day long. The best way to catch them at this time of the year is to pull crankbaits on lead core line. Stay right where you're at. I'm going to show you how to do it this week on Fish Ed. There's one right there. Boy, it didn't take much. Didn't take much at all to get that one to hit right away. There's so many fish out here in this basin at this time of year. This feels like a pretty good one. Hey, let me quickly, while I'm reeling this in, because we got a little ways to go. We got 180 feet. Let me explain to you how lead core works. What I'm doing today is I'm using a crankbait in a Lindy Shadling or a Lindy River Rocker that's only going to dive somewhere between 10 and 12 feet. So what I'm using to get down, I'm out here in 34 feet. What I'm using to get down is lead core line. And what lead core does is really simple. It's weighted and it sinks 5 feet per color. Now every color is 30 feet long, but you really don't got to worry about that. If you just remember that it sinks 5 feet per color, and then you tie on a leader somewhere between 30 and 50 feet, you're gonna be able to get your lure down as deep as you need to get it, okay? So you look at these reels I'm using today, they'll hold 10 colors of lead core line. But what I'm actually doing is I'm going 6 colors, that's getting me down 30 feet. Then on that lure is actually diving on the monofilament that I'm using a 10-pound monofilament leader that's about 30 feet long. So that lure is gonna dive another couple feet. So as I'm fishing out here, over 34 feet of water, I'm actually putting myself in a position where I've got that lure down there. I just got to the leader. I'm almost there. I'm putting that lure down about 32 feet. That's a big fish, I think. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a beautiful walleye. But lead core line is what's allowing me to get down there. If I wasn't using this lead core, I would have to use a lot deeper diving lure. And right now, these fish in the body of water I'm fishing are feeding on smaller bait. So this lure is what I want to put down there. I mean, you look at this. Look at how small that lure is that I'm using. That little Lindy River Rocker. And that fish attacked it because it's exactly the size of the bait that he's eating every day right now. Look at that. What a great walleye to start the day. That's what you can get when you're out here trolling, and look how fat that fish is. It's because he's just out here eating like crazy. Let's get this guy back in the water, and all we do when I'm doing this is I'll plunge them like that, because then they'll take off right away. If you try to lay him in there might be a little bit of air in his belly and he might roll up. So just go ahead and plunge them and they'll take off right away every time. I'm gonna get back in the water because that was a quick start. We're gonna be able to get after him pretty good the way it looks. A couple things I do. Number one, when I get a fish on lead core, I'm pretty much just a slow, steady crank and keep that rod bent. Because remember, there's no stretch in this lead core line. So if fish tries to go the other way, you want that rod to act as a shock absorber. The other thing I do is I don't pump the rod. I just try to keep it bent, keep pressure on them, and you know, remember, I'm already going 2 miles an hour, so you don't have to bring him that fast. Those hooks are still in him, and he's gonna just constantly be pulled mouth first with the motor and your reeling. You know, the other thing I do to catch these fish too is I do a lot of changing around with speeds and depth. Oh, look at that one. I won't even have to net him. I'll go home for dinner. That's a sauger. Perfect. But the other thing you can see too is I'm constantly switching lures around. Okay, now today, in the same day, in 2 passes, I've actually caught fish on 3 different lures. And I want to show you the main lures that I use. The first thing I do when I get to a body of water is I try to figure out what are the fish actually eating, okay? Now here, they're eating a smaller bait, they're eating a shiner. So I'm gonna use a smaller lure, and that's why today you're seeing that I'm using river rockers and I'm using shadlings. Now, if I'm fishing a system, a body of water, like maybe out on the Missouri River at Mobridge, where there's some bigger bait in the system now, I'm gonna go with a bigger lure. Maybe I'll go to a number 7. But both of these lures are great. Now, let me tell you one other thing about why I do what I do. They have 2 different actions, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm constantly changing colors, but I'm constantly bouncing back and forth too, because the fish are gonna tell you if they want that wide wobble that the river rocker's got or the tight little wobble that the shadling's got. The shadling's got rattles, the river rocker doesn't. So basically I can sit and tune in throughout a day and get to the exact lure, the exact color, the exact speed that the fish want, and then emulate it all day long and just sit and catch fish. Boy, I'll tell you, when you get dialed in and you know exactly what you want to put down there, you know exactly where you want to be, trolling crankbaits on lead core line is so simple. Now, you know, you talk about locations though at this time of year, and there's not a lot to this. I mean, realistically, I'm just out in the basin and I've left all structure. And this is happening on Mille Lacs Lake, it's happening on Lake of the Woods, it's happening all across the Midwest. Fish right now have just scattered their way out into the basin. And that's because the bait fish is finally big enough that it's worked its way out into that basin. All right, we got this guy pretty close. Now, here's what I want to do though. I'm gonna look at structures where I was getting fish earlier this year. And then I'm gonna work my way out. And a lot of times, all I'll do is I'll just go for a drive straight out from that structure, watching my graph. And as I go, eventually, I'm gonna see fish. And all I'm gonna do at that point is set up on those fish right there. And I'll usually try to go with the wind like I'm doing here today and just come right back over those fish. That's another dynamite walleye. And you know, it's not that long ago. Oh, look at that, he got himself unhooked and he got himself out of the boat. I don't know that I've ever seen that in my whole life. That fish really wanted to get back. But here's what's really cool. I might have caught that same fish 6 weeks ago up on structure 3 miles from here. But I just drove off that structure and I looked for a contour line along my graph and I finally found one, and it's as simple as those fish are right along this. So all you gotta do is run up and down it. I'll tell you what, if every fish let himself go that easily, I wouldn't have as much cut up hands by the end of the year. That's really cool though. I'm gonna get back in the water and keep showing you how to do this, because I'll tell you, you wanna do this no matter what body of water you're on. This is just too much fun. That's a good fish. This guy, I was just turning the boat. So this inside rod slowed down just a little bit. I was turning to the inside and he smashed it. You know what, we're actually gonna slow this boat down even a little bit more. Oh yeah, look at that one. It's the biggest one we've had on all day. See if we can't finish the deal here. Oh yeah. That is a horse walleye right there. Look at that. Holy smokes. Wait till you see this one. This may be the biggest walleye we've caught all year. And you know, we've been lucky and caught a lot of big fish this year on Fish Head, but look at this one. This, in fact, I'll tell you right now for sure that this one right here is the biggest eye we've gotten all year. And it so happens, well, look at this. Look at the girth on that walleye. It so happens to be the last walleye of the year on Fish Head. What a great fish. You know, with this, we're gonna wrap the year up. We're gonna be back in just a couple months. As soon as we've got safe ice to walk on, we're gonna go out and we're gonna chase fish all over the Midwest and show you exactly how to catch them. Sometimes it'll be fish like that beautiful walleye right there, and sometimes it's gonna be just a mess of eaters. But either way, you wanna stay with us throughout the whole winter months. We're gonna show you exactly how to get them all winter long, just like we have all summer here on Fish Head. What a walleye. Let's get this big girl back in the water. Look at that. Look at the girth on that fish. She covers my whole hand. What a way to finish the year.